Hi. Let's talk about the discomfort of evening. Alright, screw this, let's do it. Okay, today let's talk about The Discomfort of Evening by Marika Lucas Reinewald. She's a Dutch author. Okay, so this book came to my attention, as I'm pretty sure all of you would know by the time that you see and click on this, that the book had won the International Booker Prize, right? Maybe let's just talk about the author first. Marika Lucas Reinewald was born in 1991 in a Reformed Christian society in Netherlands. They identify themselves both as male and female, and would prefer the pronouns they or them, right? So I'll keep referring to them as they or them, right? Now, when we talk about Marika Lucas Reinewald, they grew up in a Reformed Christian community, and that's where the novel is set as well. And there are many peculiarities with that they kind of explore in a very comfortable manner in the novel, and it's quite fascinating to see as well. Apart from that, they're known as a poet in Netherlands. They had initially published a collection of poems in Netherlands, which gained some popularity, but the International Booker Prize kind of shot their stocks way up, and people have started to take notice. When you talk about the author, they're, like I said, I think I might have already mentioned, they're 29. They were born in 1991, which is the same age as me, and I'm amazed with the voice that they have. Apparently, it took them 6 years to write this novel, and it's inspired from an incident in their life, wherein it's a small spoiler, so if you want you can skip 10 seconds ahead, but it's inspired from one of the incidents that happened, wherein they lost their elder brother when they were 3, and that kind of inspired them to start writing this particular novel. And most of the incidents, I believe, are quite personal to them, at least the way that it's written. I kind of feel that there is a lot of truth in the matter as well. But yeah, as an author, I think you should definitely check out their interviews that they've done on YouTube. You'll find a dozen. They still work as a farmer. They work with cows, in a dairy farm. I saw a video on YouTube where they're working with the cows, like having a shovel in their hands and feeding them and scooping out cow dung and everything. And I think they are extremely genuine, in their voice, and it comes out in the novel, which is why I think it strikes a chord within each and every one of us because of how sincere and genuine it sounds, right? It resonates with you, even if the culture or the way of life is alien to you. It kind of hits you in a very primitive part of your heart, wherein a lot of your questions would be amplified through this particular story. I think that kind of would be a good start, and let me just dive in directly to the novel in itself, right? But I wanna kind of explain what I felt while I was reading it. It's not comforting at all, if I can put it that way. But at the same time, there is a sincerity to it. The story is about a 10-year-old girl called Yas. She lives in a reformed community, and she has a father, a mother. She has an elder brother and a twin brother, Ober, and she has a younger sister called Hannah. Most of the entire story revolves around these characters. and how they deal with the tragedy that I just mentioned earlier. Yas is, I mean, you can, I think, maybe even pigeonhole this story as a coming of age story in itself, because the character is 10 turning 12. We see that Yas has to grow up extremely fast within a very small period of time. We see that she has to take up a lot more responsibility that she is not ready or equipped to deal with. She is she's in the brink of kind of intuitively understanding what was wrong in her family and with her parents, yet not having the skills to either articulate how she could, or articulate to herself how she could deal with such a thing, or rationally understand what is expected out of her. But she knows that she has to do something and she has to take action, and the actions that she tries to take is quite based on her idea and understanding of the world, which is, again, for a child, is quite limited, and she's not equipped to deal with the kind of the emotional turmoil that is going on within their lives. I think it is incredibly complex. What resonates with me, and this is what made me love the book, and so there are some works of art, right? Like you watch a movie, like for example, the movie that stuck in my head was Suspiria, Luca Guadagnino's remake of Suspiria, the original. And I mean, both movies kind of stuck with me for the, I don't know, for some reason. I mean, it kind of connects with like a subconscious that you don't really understand, but you feel that there are a lot of things that resonates with you, right? So, and I'm not trying to abstract these ideas just to justify a book that I'm just into, but with this, as soon as I finished reading it, it was in my head for about 3 to 4 weeks, not just because of how extremely unpleasant the story is, but more than that, I think what it does is it kind of unravels how you were as kids as well, how you used to think, how what was the thought process that you had, and even the Yas goes through this whole sexual exploration, and we see certain things that might not have happened to us in real life, but then we can understand what it would have felt like, and as a child you're a lot more vulnerable. So from that particular point of view, you relate to the character a lot more, you care for the character a lot more, and it is incredibly heartbreaking because you are helpless in this situation. You want to help Yas because Yas is extremely lovable and sort of, I mean, intelligent as well for a child of that age, and very intuitive, and knows what to do at what point, and you want to help her but you're not able to. At the same time, you see Yas's brother kind of going into dealing with his own issues. He's becoming more violent, and you as an adult, you can see that all of this happening. You know that their parents are not able to handle it, and you just feel extremely helpless, and that helplessness kind of sticks with you for a while, because I think that's what's most uncomfortable about this. Not to mention the fact that it dives into the difficulty to recognize depression in a setting like that, in a community where there is heavily religious undertones as to how everything could be done. In that kind of society, the kind of innocence with which certain things are dealt with and the harm that it can cause is also looked into in a way that is I think in a very objective way. The book does not take a stand as to how this would affect people, or if it's right or wrong, or if it's morally repugnant. That's not what the book tries to do. What it does is just show us and tell us a story, and as simple as that. And within that we find these flaws, and we try to, you'd be extremely you'd want to help Yas and Hannah, but you'll be helpless that way. There is this historical twist to it because Yas is born on the same day as Hitler, and obviously what the characters that Yas is familiar with, one of the characters is Hitler, and because of the fact that she was born on the same day, she feels that for some reason there are connections between Yas and Hitler as well, and Yas is unable to break down and cry when her brother her brother has passed away, and that makes her feel that she feels guilty, but she doesn't know how to confront that guilt, and she feels that she's closer to Hitler and that she's evil because she's not able to cry. And I remember doing that as well as a child. I remember going through one of these situations where you are expected to cry, but you cannot cry and you don't force it, and you think there's something wrong with you. I think every child goes through these phenomena, and although I think this has been tried and tested in a couple of ways, this story kind of reminds me of Pan's Labyrinth. Guillermo del Toro's one of his best works, I would say, is even better than Shape of Water. Pan's Labyrinth shows the Spanish Civil War from the perspective of a child, and you see that the child goes into a whole fantastical element so that she can escape the harsh reality of the world. And through these fantastical elements, while we are in this wonderland that Pan's Labyrinth shows, it cuts directly into the brutal reality, and even the slightest form of violence, which is incomparable to the kind of stuff that we see in Game of Thrones or I don't know, Quentin Tarantino's any movie with gratuitous violence. When you see even the tiniest amount of violence in a suddenly contrasted or juxtaposed to the perspective of a child, what you feel is you feel that the violence is extremely visceral. You feel the blood, you can smell it almost. So that is the same thing that is happening here, and that is quite refreshing because all of the emotions are just heightened to an extent that it sticks with you. There are these pangs of doubt and anxiety that you feel while you're reading the book, and it's a whole different vibe altogether. Apart from that, another thing that kind of everybody mentions is their voice. Like, the author has a very distinct voice. The metaphors that they use in comparison, and the contrasts that they bring in with dreary, dull images, with in parallel to the extremely disgusting nature of their work. A lot of disgusting things that Yas has to deal with at her work, and it is always juxtaposed and contrasted with some sort of a food item, and that is extremely uncomfortable in itself to read. But then the images are still fresh in my mind because it's written with such an insight that you can only have if you have directly worked in one of these places for a really long time, right? Like, for example, whatever work that you do right now, I'm sure that you would know these intricate details that certain things resemble certain other things, and to know that detail you have to work in one of those for a really long time, and that is the kind of edge that this book has. This might have been very natural and easy for them to write about. I'm curious to see the novel that's coming out next, if at all one of them does. Yeah. Also, I think I forgot to mention that this book was translated by Michelle Hutchison. You can see her process in this as well, because I think it was very difficult for her to translate a Dutch theme into English in a way that would translate entirely to us as well, with the kind of peculiar voice that the author has. So I would definitely recommend that you try that as well. All in all, I don't particularly believe in giving ratings to any of this, so I'm not gonna attempt that. What I would want to say is, this story stuck with me for about 2 weeks now. I finished it last week, and it's still there in my mind, fresh. I can talk about it all day. I wouldn't recommend this to everybody, because I don't think that everybody or most of you would like it. It's not a pleasurable experience to read this, but at the same time, if you're looking to feel anything, in our condition now, where there is overstimulation, and you don't even know what you want to feel anymore. If you want to experience something genuinely horrifying also, you should definitely go for this. It would I think it would remind you of a lot of your childhood as well, as it did for me. I think I'm gonna stop now. This has gone on for really long. I did not expect my first vlog to go on for this long. Thanks for listening or watching. Do let me know if you think this has spiked your curiosity of the book, if it helped in any way, and if you think about what you think about the book, please do comment. Alright, this is AbstractDosa. Bye.